Hello and welcome to the European Resilience Initiative Center video podcast. Russian gas for German economy, German money for Russian military expansion. This formula worked so well all the years, perfectly financing Russian war machine, even after Crimea annexation. Generations of German politicians went to Moscow to sign deals, what led Russia to blackmail their neighbors and to prepare for a large-scale war. Gerhard Schröder, Angela Merkel, the list of German chancellors who cared more about Russian gas contracts than about European security is so long. How did it come to this shameful dependency? We are talking today with Steffen Dobbert. He is a German journalist who works for the Zeit newspaper, and together with Ulrich Thiele, he has authored a book, Nord Stream: How Germany Finances Putin's War. This book comes in Klett-Cotta Publishing House in German. The link for this book, you can purchase it, is in the description of this video. Highly recommended. And don't forget, of course, to like, to share, and to subscribe to this channel so you will never miss interviews like this. Welcome, Steffen.
Hi, thanks for having me, and good to see you again, Sergej.
Good to see you, and congratulations to your book. You have invested months and months in this research, and I know that you spent many years in Ukraine working on the ground, so you know what are you writing about, and the story starts years before, like way before the full-scale invasion of Russia in Ukraine, and even way before Crimea annexation. But before we go into details, how it worked and why it's so dangerous and why it's so important, you have chosen the name of your book, How Germany Finances Putin's War. So in the present, is it still happening? Does Russia sell its gas to Germany?
Officially, the German government stopped buying Russian gas after the war escalated. The German Minister of Economy did some efforts to stop it, but in reality, it's not forbidden. You can buy gas, and there are hints that there is still gas coming with ships to Germany, which origin is Russia. But to be fair, in our book, for our book, we found sources who the first time revealed how the price was, which Germany had to pay for Russian gas. So the price was even better than Ukraine had to pay for gas. But if you sum it up, what every year Germany bought from Russia, you have a very high amount of money. So if you combine it from the year 2013 till the escalation of the war, it's 105 billion euros. So, of course, you can't say every euro of this money was used for the war. But if you check how much money Russia spent every year for the military, you can say that in some years, 1/3 of this money came from Germany. So the biggest answer is Germany reduced this, but I'm not sure if it's now by 0% today.
And we know that the current Germany's president, the head of German state, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, who was a foreign minister under Angela Merkel, he also claimed 2 weeks before Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022 that Nord Stream 2 cannot be stopped and is needed as the last bridge between Russia and Germany. A ridiculous statement. And he was also a part of this group of the Social Democrat and Christian Democrat, unfortunately, politicians who supported this project as a sign of reconciliation between Berlin and Moscow. And what I wanted to ask you, one of the parts of your book, which I read with great interest, and there are a lot of facts there, highly recommended to everyone. One of the parts of the book is called a nützlicher Idiot, or a useful idiot. And then I thought, are these people idiots? We always try to explain their actions. Oh, they didn't know, they were fooled. But you don't get to such positions being a fool. Are they really stupid, or was there some other reason, some other motives behind their actions?
Yeah, this phrase is in German language used, and it has a long history. That's why we used it in one headline of one chapter in the book. I would definitely say that neither Frank-Walter Steinmeier or Sigmar Gabriel or Gerhard Schröder are stupid. And I guess they would argue that they acted in the interest of German economy. So if you see the full picture, of the Nord Stream 1 pipelines and then the Nord Stream 2 pipelines, you must see that there was kind of a win-win situation for Russia and for the German economy. As you know, the German economy, or Germany, is the third largest economy in the world. It's a small country, but the economy is, or was quite successful. So what are the reasons that an economy can be very successful? One reason is that when you manufacture products, you need energy. So the deal between Russia, naming Gazprom, and Germany benefited to German economy. And I think Sigmar Gabriel, for example, who was a German economy minister and later foreign minister, and like Frank-Walter Steinmeier, behaved like they behaved because they felt like maybe under pressure to help the German economy. We use in the book the phrase strategic corruption, because Gazprom, as you know, is a very huge entity, and we found sources who worked for Gazprom, and they said, you don't know if Gazprom is a business entity or if it is an entity which is used for the war, or if it's just Putin's personal company. So, the Gazprom entity is very important, and they played a very clever game. They supported in Germany soccer teams, music orchestras, schools, sailing races. And they supported, for example, a region in northeast of Germany, Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, where I was born, with millions of dollars or euros. So they supported the politicians, institutions, they created networks. So the people in Germany felt, okay, wow, we get support. They bought, for example, big harbors in northeast Germany. So the politicians felt, okay, we get support. The society felt like, okay, wow, there is a soccer team which now gets support by Gazprom. This can't be something bad. So the whole model was like this. And what we can consider now, or which could have been considered before, that no one had an eye on Ukraine. And this is what I think is an historic mistake, that after the annexation of Crimea and after the war started, Angela Merkel's government continued to do this way. And here in Germany, I'm now talking to you from Berlin. It's very interesting because even nowadays, it looks like on the national level, people don't want to talk about this issue even. So when we did the research of the book, we had the support of some whistleblowers. They supported us with classified documents. And after we wrote the book, we confronted, like politicians we talked about, for example. And even then, lawyers threatened us, me and my co-author Ulrich Thiele, because they didn't want this to be published. And even nowadays, we have in Germany elections soon. I don't see that this issue, the topic of how Germany, against the interest of the European Union, and of course against the interest of Ukraine and the interest of everyone who's dying in this war, did this stuff. I think there needs to be a full investigation, and people need even to be to be accountable for what happened. But we will see. Maybe our book can be a small step into this direction.
Absolutely, and all these small steps which Gazprom and practically the Russian state did to increase their influence here, and to get to this influence, then to increase it. They're really like when one reads your book, it sounds like some spy story. A professor of the university opposes this Gazprom pipeline because of environmental issue, and then suddenly 800,000 euro lands on the account of his university, and Gazprom says, "Hey, here is money so you can study ducks on the island. Like, you can study the colony of ducks, and here is money for that." And then the professor is suddenly very happy with the Gazprom pipeline. Of course, it's not what was caused by the money. It's just pure coincidence. He's just has reviewed his idea and came to that decision very clearly. What you describe there is also what is very disturbing, is the number of former officers of Stasi, of the infamous Eastern German communist terrorist secret police, people who arrested people, who spied people, who terrorized them psychologically and physically. And the Stasi, which was not practically prosecuted after the reunification in Germany. Many people were banned from state service, but they found their way into business. And then, surprise, surprise, some of them have found their way to Gazprom structures and served as the connection officers, connection managers to the German political elites and German economy. What is the role of Stasi in all this Gazprom infiltration in Germany?
I mean, this role is personalized in one man. It's Matthias Warnig, who was really a highly officer, an agent who worked for the Stasi abroad in Düsseldorf in the end of the 80s. And in this position, he spied. And what we found out for the book, which is new, that he back there found, for example, information in West Germany about atomic nuclear power plants. And this information, he, as a Stasi agent, he delivered so the East German state could use it for their energy projects. So after the revolution in Germany, Matthias Warnig continued, as you described. He started a new career. And it's even kind of ironic because as a spy, he spied, for example, for Dresdner Bank, a German bank. And after the revolution, he started working for this bank in St. Petersburg, where he became a very, very good friend of Vladimir Putin. He was one of the very few people who attended when the father of Putin was buried. He's a very close friend of Putin. And this Matthias Warnig plays a very high role in Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2. He was the CEO of the companies who did a lot so the pipelines could be built, and he did a lot that the building was finished. So you see in this person that a former Stasi spy was very useful and helped a lot for this project. And we also found out in our book research that on a lower level in this region, Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, which is now in the northeast of Germany and was part of East Germany before the revolution in Germany, we also found out that people who are now businessmen and quite successful and even get awards for their business in Germany they also worked for the Stasi, which was not revealed so far.
And Matthias Warnig, as we know, was one of 2 German citizens who were invited to the Tsar-style inauguration of Vladimir Putin in Kremlin. The second one was Gerhard Schröder, of course. And they were staying in the very prominent position close to Dmitry Medvedev and Patriarch of the Russian Church, Kirill, and other like top prominent people of the Russian state system, which shows how important this person is for Vladimir Putin and for his world foreign security, energy, etc. policy. But coming back or staying on the ground of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, northeastern region of Germany, the region where you were born, and the region where Russian gas pipeline Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2 came to German land. We know that this region was very pro-Russian, I would say, on the political level. We know that the current prime minister of this region, Manuel Schwesig, tried to support Russian investment projects even after the full-scale invasion of Russia. And the predecessor of her, Erwin Sellering, was a person who brought several investments to this region from Russia. And one of them is the shipyard, which belonged to a son of a former Gazprom board member and energy minister of Russia, Yusupov. What is the role of this investment in this network of Gazprom?
Yeah, this was quite interesting. When we did our research, we were kind of shocked, actually, because in this Gazprom Nord Stream story is also involved the shooting of one man. So you
and it's not a photo shooting.
No, not a photo shooting at all. It was a really criminal, murdering of a person in the center of Moscow. And we talk now about Bolakov, who in 2008 bought major harbor shipping companies in northeast of Germany. So, and you talked about the former minister of this region, Erwin Sellering. He was in power at that time. And his aim was that this ship manufacturing facilities continue to work, because he was afraid that people get unemployed. And he had the wish to be very pro-Russian, and he spread this narrative to the society. You know, what he kind of argument used, like the Soviet Union was a very good time, everyone had work back there, and let's connect to this friendship between Germany and Russia. This is what was his narrative was. So what happened was that first, this Bolakov came to Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, promised that he will save these companies, and he said he will bring a lot of production offers from Russia. So they bought the harbors, and with credits based on these harbors, the company went bankrupt. So nothing happened what he promised, and just sometime later, another Russian, you could say oligarch or businessman, Yusupov, bought again these shipment facilities in northern Germany.
And he was absolutely young. He was like under 30, I think, when he came with all his money. He was, of course, earned with his talent and with his hard work in Russia, being a son of a minister of energy and a Gazprom board member. And he came to Germany and bought this company. And Erwin Sellering, the prime minister of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, was finally happy, because the Russians bought the bankrupt company and have given orders, if I'm not mistaken, back to Gazprom. So Gazprom has practically has set the deal the way that when the Gazprom orders suddenly go away from this shipyard, the shipyard is not sustainable anymore. So Gazprom practically said, hello, guys, we have interest in your region. Here is investment of the son of our former board member. Here are orders. The tankers produced at this shipyard goes back to Gazprom. Do you know that your company is dependent practically on our orders? I'm not sure if it was said literally over the table, but of course it was very clearly in the air. Is it a Russian style to very politely convince the Germans to stay on Russia's side?
I would put it this way: the story of the murderers of Bolakov and the shipment facilities was a crime, and there was a mafia clan involved. And the scandal is that the authorities in Germany didn't do anything against it, even afterwards, because the evidence looks like that they bought this shipment, the ship factories in order to use it as a money laundry. Money was lost, and the Spanish authorities, the police in Spain, found a Russian criminal gang around Petrov and others who bought, villas in Spain, and they investigated. But even after they shared the investigations with the authorities in Germany, nothing happened in Germany. And one source we talked to said that then the Russians got into a conflict, that the president for some time, Medvedev, was involved. He had interest in this business you call it. And Bolakov, who was the one who bought first the facilities, was shot because he knew too much and because he wanted to talk to journalists about this. So I think this is a quite criminal story. And Yususov, the new owner, worked for Gazprom. He worked even for Matthias Warnig, the former Stasi spy we talked before. And you could think, after all this happened, that someone in Germany then later on, when in 2013, 2014, the war started in Ukraine, that people started to rethink what they did. But it didn't happen. Erwin Sellering, the prime minister at that time, continued to fly to Russia. He celebrated together with Gerhard Schröder his birthday with Vladimir Putin in Russia, and he organized business events. It was called business events. It's called Russland Tag, Russia Day. And even people who were under sanctions from other countries like Canada and the United States were invited to the northeast of Germany. And there they made deals that they want to together support companies in Russia who produce weapons. We were kind of shocked when we found out these connections. So you could even say that some people in Germany not only paid a lot of money for the gas, they also wanted to help companies in Russia that they can produce weapons.
Now, I can remember this time because I worked for a German consulting company back then in 2014-15, and I was the head of sanctions compliance department. And we were strict, and we have published newsletters warning our clients and the market about the dangers of even trying to evade sanctions. We said very openly, don't even think about it. And if you are not sure, better not to go into the deal, or you can ask us and we can tell you if this potential partner is dangerous for you or not. And we recommend you not to go into any deal which even looks suspicious. And after a couple of these newsletters, my supervisor and an owner of company has got a very angry letter of one of Germany economic unions telling him practically, don't spread such newsletters. You're a panic maker. You just create panic on the market. What you say is not true. Sanctions are not that bad. Just shut Sergej Sumlenny up. He's just making noise, and he doesn't understand that sanctions should better be ignored as an obstacle. And we have not done it, but I left Moscow pretty soon after that. And I remember how German business society was very anti-sanctions back then, saying that, yeah, sanctions just are disturbing. We don't want them. Russians are cool guys. Crimea is such an unimportant thing. Nothing bad is happening. And what you are describing is exactly confirms my person experience. That one thing is to be angry about sanctions and about your investment going down weeks after Crimea annexation, when it's a shock. Another thing is just sponsoring the war years and years after. And that is what obviously was happening and increasing, like boosting up the cooperation. What was behind this blindness of the German politicians?
So we found out that there was no blindness. Our documents show that they knew what they did, and they did it for a purpose. And the purpose was to support the German economy with cheap gas, as I said in the beginning. So between 2014 and 2022, when the war escalated, more than 14,000 people died in Ukraine, as you know, the first part of the war, I would call it. So during this time, politicians in Germany supported the German economy and the companies, so they get cheap gas from Russia. And it's hard to say for me, but they didn't care about the war. Angela Merkel and her government tried to make deals, but they didn't work. As you know, the Minsk agreement, the Minsk II agreement, and I think if you look back now, of course, now it's easier. You know, when you've done something, it's very easy to judge when you're in the middle of something. But it's very clear that Putin played a very strategic game, and his aim was to, of course, bypass Ukraine, because with Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2, it wasn't needed to use Ukraine as transit for gas. His second aim was to divide the European Union. So if Germany gets cheap gas, and if Germany supports this, of course, other countries like Poland, the Scandinavian countries, or the Baltics are angry. And this is exactly what happened. We see now in Europe renationalization of politics, and this is exactly what was the aim of Putin. So it's kind of sad, but we hope that if people read our book, especially in Germany, it's possible to learn out of it. And I would also would like to add one more topic, which is kind of not making me happy, because I studied European studies. I think the European Union, as it was built after the World War II, is a good idea. But what we see in the Nord Stream story is that Germany, which politicians like Merkel, like Scholz, always presented them as Europeans. What they did is they ignored European law, because the European Commission said from the very beginning, Nord Stream 2, by the way, like South Stream, which was also planned, is not possible like Gazprom planned it. But German politicians ignored this. Only
it is because the pipe may not belong to the owner of gas. You either sell gas or you own a pipeline and sell the service of transportation, right?
Right. So in the fact that German institutions ignored European law, they really, in the long run, I would argue, hurt themselves. Because how reliable is Germany now when in the EU there's another topic, when France has this issue or whatever? So I think the reliability on Germany as a reliable member of the European Union has lost a lot in this. This is what we can learn, and I also think this is a security matter, because we found out that the influence of Russia with Gazprom and the Nord Stream companies was so big that they made institutions in Germany bypass confidential information about the Baltic Sea and NATO maneuvers there. So this is a direct a link to the war. Our documents, which we describe in the book, show that people working for Gazprom companies lobbied or influenced institutions in northeast of Germany, and information they had where, for example, the German Bundeswehr is operating in the Baltic Sea, or other NATO allies using it for submarine maneuvers. This confidential information went from this German institution to Gazprom. So it's also a matter of security what happened there.
Absolutely. That is what you describe in your book very precisely, how classified information about sea cables, about maneuvers, about closed areas of the city was passed to Russia. And of course, you need to have this information when you plan your pipeline, but we know that Russia weaponizes everything. And now we see that Russian tankers occasionally break cables in the Baltic Sea, and it happens so often. Then I say, oh, maybe they really want to do it. Maybe it's not a coincidence. It hasn't happened recently, right? But it hasn't happened like 5 years ago, right? But it's happening now. So they know something they can use, and they use it. But when you talk about it, when you write about it, I know from my personal experience then when you used to say 3-5 years ago, Russia is about to start a war, Russia plans genocide, etc. Even during this full-scale invasion, when you talked at the beginning about genocide, people told you, oh no, you're exaggerating, you're too emotional. You don't have the whole picture, you're too narrow-minded. Have you experienced the same criticism? Is it possible to report on these things without being, without turning into a target for such accusations?
You know, I did my work as a journalist since 2011, 2012. I used to live for some time in Ukraine. I was there quite often. And to be honest, at some point when I got life threats for me and my family, I decided to be a little more cautious. And we already got threats against us, my co-author and me, before the book was even published. So we are kind of prepared when the book is published. There will be, of course, some critics, because in the book are details which some people will maybe not like it. But I think, you know, we are living in a world of war. You have to admit it. And I think we are also in times where facts don't matter for some people. And this is very, very dangerous, especially for democracies, because when people don't know the facts, they can't make up their own mind. So I think the work of journalism is, and especially investigative journalism, is very important these days. And in this 2.5 years process of research of this book, it was very hard. It was tough. We got threats. But me and my co-author, and by the way, there were 3 other people involved in our team, we never had any doubt that this work is needed and we need to finish it. So we did it.
And once again, the book is absolutely amazing. A lot of facts. As a person who worked in Ukraine for years and who knows the market in Germany, these gas relations, Russia, Germany, I can only recommend this book to anyone to everyone an amazing book. The link to the book is in the description of this video. We are facing federal elections, snap elections, or early elections in just 1 week in Germany. And we know that the situation is very turbulent now. We know that the Chancellor's party, Social Democrats, most probably will lose the elections. Olaf Scholz will not be a chancellor anymore. We'll have a new chancellor, highly likely Friedrich Merz, but okay, we'll see. And in your book, you are describing a lot of Social Democrat politicians who were involved in this, I would say, in creating a friendly atmosphere for Gazprom in Germany, formulating it politely. But the whole story happened under chancellorship of Angela Merkel, who is a Christian Democrat chancellor was, and who is, by the way, now criticized Friedrich Merz, Christian Democrat chancellor candidate. So many people say that this all gas connection to Russia is social democratic domain, but is it? Is it only a social democratic endemic thing, or is it a wider spread disease?
Definitely, there are also politicians involved from the Christian Democrats. And just to give you one example, there is one politician who wanted to become the mayor of Berlin. He paid a lawyer who threatened us already before the book was published, because we will reveal in the book that he did some stuff which is not okay, to put it this way. So you can't say this was only the Social Democrats who had this pro-Russian policy. We see that Gazprom tried almost everything. They, for example, had influence, or they tried to get more influence on German media. They supported big publishing houses of newspapers. They supported them because they wanted that the society believes that Russian gas is good for the environment. Keyword climate change. And there is one chapter in the book which was, for me personally, the most shocking one. You know, I published before this book, I published a book about Ukrainian history. Understanding Ukraine was the title. So in this book, I tried to describe for the readers how Ukraine became what Ukraine is today. You know, the fight for freedom, the Cossacks, all this. And of course, I described in this book the period of World War II, where Germany, Hitler's troop, kind of destroyed Ukraine. It was barbaric. It was in the time after the Holodomor, where Germany knew about and did nothing against it. So what we found out now in the new book, that when Angela Merkel was chancellor, it was a big coalition with the Social Democrats. A delegation from Ukraine, from Naftogaz, had a meeting in the chancellery in Berlin. And we are talking about the year 2018. They had this official meeting with official advisors to Merkel. Merkel herself wasn't in the meeting. But in this meeting, the Ukrainians said, okay, listen, you know that you are supporting Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2, but you have to be aware, if you continue this, Russia will start a full-scale war on Ukraine. So the first answer from the Germans was, yeah, okay, don't panic, you know, you are afraid, but we know what to do. Then the Ukrainians gave another argument. They said, if you continue this, and if the war escalates, there will be a lot of refugees coming from Ukraine to Germany, to West Europe, because this is what happens when a war escalates. And now comes the answer. The Germans said, yes, we are aware of this. We calculated this in. And I quote, we know what to do with them, or we will know what to do with them. So for me, as I said, this was shocking, because knowing about the history, how Germany used Ukrainians as slaves, basically, in the Second World War, how Germany wanted even to use for the German Empire the Crimea. And now the situation is like this. 1.2 million refugees from Ukraine are in Germany. And of course, we have a debate here that maybe people don't like refugees. But in fact, the economic situation in Germany is that Germany needs people who do some kind of work. The labor market needs people. So what I understood is, and maybe this was the case, that the government was, like they said, aware of everything, and that they are not so unhappy that now over more than 1 million Ukrainians are in Germany who could do different jobs like, cooking, cleaning, all this kind of stuff. So it's for me hard to acknowledge this, but our research showed that this was the case. And I have to admit, as a German citizen, it's not so easy to admit this.
And I can only say I can fully imagine it. And I worked as a head of German Green Foundation, Heinrich Böll Foundation in Kiev, 2015, 2021. And I've experienced many times personally the situation when delegations from Germany came to Kiev, and the Ukrainians explained them that after Nord Stream 2 will be finished, Russia would start a war. And the Germans said, also from the Green Party, said, oh, you're too paranoid, that will not happen, it will not be. And another thing is that when we look at the situation with Ukrainian refugees, war refugees in Germany, we can say that, cynically looking at this, Germany is the party which gets profit of it. Germany has a massive demographic problem. Germany has also a massive problem with migrants who are not integrated enough, who are not who Germany cannot digest completely. And the Ukrainians who came to Germany, they are highly educated. They are mostly women with smaller kids, not young men, like it is with other groups. And that means that for a longer run, normally women do not leave a country when their kids raise there, because kids have their school, kids have their friends. It's a hard for any person to take your child and bring it back somewhere where the child will not feel home. So from the point of view of many German communities, and I think German government as well, they will never acknowledge it publicly, but they are interested in keeping these Ukrainian refugees because the demographic problem will be solved. You have the best resource, you have middle-aged women who still can bear kids, and you have kids who you don't need to integrate a lot because they are already like a fresh material which goes into schools and learn language. So it is a sort of a very cynical plan how to boost your economy on the costs of Ukraine once again.
Yeah, you name it. And we have to admit that the Russian Empire does a lot to get control about Ukraine again. And we have to admit that Germany can do much better as a member of the European Union to stop this war. And I think a third thing which we never mentioned, but it's important to mention because a lot of people, when they hear the word Nord Stream or Nord Stream 2, they think first about the explosions. So what I see in German society, that the explosions of Nord Stream 2 and the investigations, which are not finished, who did it, were used by German politicians, by some at least, to paint the image of Ukrainians who are not acting according to international law. They blame Ukrainians that they did it. And even some politicians now say, we need to fix these pipelines, and Ukrainians did it, and it's not okay. What we try to explain in the book and the book, as I said, starts much before, in 2013. If you see how history evolved, what happened, how the war escalated step by step, and after 2022 it escalated, like a long time before it didn't happen on the European continent. You understand that even it was a Ukrainian special mission who did this because no one helped Ukraine to resist against the Russian army. So it makes sense, in this war that it happened like this. What I have to say that we don't have proof if either Russia did the explosions or if a Ukrainian mission was it. What I have to name is that we did a lot of research. We talked to former employees of Gazprom who talked to us. We were many times in Ukraine. We talked to high-rank former politicians. For example, Yatsenyuk talked quite openly about the whole topic, but which is a fact that although Petro Poroshenko would have had a big interest to talk about the whole issue, he denied to talk about it. So I think the whole Nord Stream story hopefully is a little bit more transparent with this book, but it's not complete. This is just a first big step in my eyes.
And we know that theoretically, Russia went very naturally to the cutting of Nord Stream. Russia first stopped to fill the gas storage facilities, which they first bought in Germany, so leaving Germany practically without gas supply. The storage facility was full by 3%, I think, instead of 100% before the winter, a clear attempt to leave it empty. And then the Russians stopped to send gas via Nord Stream 1 pipeline, saying, oh, we don't have that turbine, we don't have this turbine, we need time for repair work. And then the explosion happened. So from my perspective, even if they used some sort of a yacht, which was owned by a Ukrainian person, Russian FSB could just rent this yacht and send it to the area, because Russians had all the equipment to send their submarines there and install the bomb, or even create the pipeline with a bomb inside already. As we know, at many infrastructure projects, it was a Soviet tradition to have explosive parts inside the bridges and other facilities to be able to blow it up. So it is completely in Russia's way of doing things. But anyway, what we know very good is that gas was a source of strategic corruption, as you said it, and the damage which it caused to Germany is huge. So, do you have any recipe? Like, how can we heal Germany from this dependence? As even now, before the elections, we hear the calls in Germany from different political parties to lift sanctions from Russia, to reestablish business connections, and to leave Ukraine alone. Is Germany's political elite able to come back to sense?
By nature, I'm kind of an optimist, even in these times. And, I studied Russian hybrid warfare like more than 10 years ago. I studied how Russia used this kind of warfare in the Russian-Georgian war, and then later in Ukraine. And we have to describe, reveal, and talk about this kind of warfare over and over again. I think the only chance that society like the German society will understand it if we explain it to them. Information is a well-used weapon in this warfare, as well as energy. And we have to paint the big picture, and we have to explain it to people, because I believe that if you have the facts on the table. If you argue transparent, people are able to understand it. And like last week, there were Russian saboteurs, most probably, who damaged German cars. And they wanted that it looks like that activists for climate change did it. So we have so many hints that the war is already in Germany, and the society should be, misinformed, should be threatened, should be afraid. And the only way we can try to deal with it is to strengthen journalism, is to try to be as transparent as possible, and not to give up.
Indeed, and for this, one needs to know the facts, one needs to know how to counter Russia's propaganda, or which they spread with their narratives, to counter it with facts, with knowledge, and with understanding what is Russia and what the Russians are doing here with our political system, how they try to sabotage it, how they try to corrupt it, how they try to distort it. Thank you so much for this interview, and thank you for your amazing book. Once again, the link for the book is in the description of this video. And once again, thank you, Steffen Dobbert, a German journalist who has co-authored with Ulrich Thiele his book Nord Stream: How Germany Finances Putin's War. Thank you, Steffen, for your time and for your investigations.
Thank you, Sergej. Thanks for having me. Good luck.